And hello everybody, welcome back to RFC News. I hope you are all well. We're here to provide you an update with the latest with regard to the managerial hunt for Rangers. Now, of course, late last night we broke some news that, of course, Steven Gerrard was not going to be joining the football club. I've slept on it. I'm still pretty upset about it, and I can see in the reaction from many Rangers fans that they're still upset about it. You know, it's everyone kind of got the hopes up ready for him. But one thing remains to me clear in the last bit on Steven Gerrard before we go into the update. The last thing on Steven Gerrard is I do think it was this board. I do think it was Kevin Thelwell. I do think it was Stewart that are responsible, because the reasoning we were given about Steven Gerrard not joining back to the club was that the timing wasn't right. Well, he flew from the Middle East 2 days ago, and the timing was all right then. So when did he think he was getting the job? So after a few rounds of talks, he then decided that the timing wasn't right. I think there's more to this story, and I do think they won't be able to sort of grant what was going on. I mean, if you realised that you're working under Kevin Thelwell and Patrick Stewart, you'd probably have to think twice and think, actually, fuck this. This is going to be a nightmare for a job. So that's probably why. But Stevie G is ended, as we already know. So let's get into the latest update. Now, as we woke up this morning, there's been one thing that has came out. There's Danny Rohl is the front runner. You know, we said that yesterday in the update. We've got a bit more from Sky Sports in a minute with regard to Danny Rohl. But I've also been waking up this morning or following after the Steven Gerrard stuff that Gary O'Neill and Graham Potter were potential candidates. They did make the shortlist. However, Gary O'Neill and Graham Potter aren't on the final shortlist. So those candidates aren't going to be in there. But let's get over to Sky Sports and find out the update from the horse's mouth, so to speak, with regard to the managerial hunt and who we are currently negotiating with, or who at least we're having talks with. As always, guys, please do hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and all that jazz. Yeah, let's jump over to Twitter. Just give me a moment as I sort my screen share out, and then we can jump on over and see who the next manager of Rangers could be. Mental. So yeah, so this is Sky Sports. Let's have a little listen to Sky Sports and see what they're saying with regard to this.
Yeah, I think it certainly feels like Danny Rohl would be one of the main names in the frame. Not the only one, but certainly one that's attracting a bit of attention. He's been spoken to by Rangers. By all accounts, those talks were fairly constructive and positive. Throw into the mix the fact that he was under consideration back in the summer when Russell Martin was appointed. So it makes sense that if you're drawing up a shortlist just 4 months ago and you believe those people could do a job, you would revisit some of that shortlist a couple of months down the line. Danny Rohl, of course, available, having left Sheffield Wednesday as well. But as I mentioned, he is only one of the names. Rangers are still looking to do this properly and thoroughly and make sure they get the right man in the end. The likes of Michael Carrick, Kieran McKenna, Ralph Hasenhuttl have all been linked. Another couple of names worth noting, the likes of Gary O'Neill, who was linked with the job previously again in the summer, and Graham Potter, but it does not look like they will end up on Rangers' final shortlist. So still a number of names in the frame as Rangers look towards this. I think for the Rangers fans, it's more about the shock of last night. They're still digesting that. I think most of them thought it would be Steven Gerrard. Most of them had their hopes up, and now looking at what comes next.
There's quite a few hats in the frame there, names in the hat, I should say. Quite a few names in the frame. So how soon then do Rangers want someone to come in?
Rangers gave themselves about as long as they possibly could over an international break. Russell Martin was sacked about 5 hours after the final whistle when they drew at Falkirk in the previous game. They've got the whole fortnight really until they welcome Dundee United here at the weekend. But I do think there is a real pressure on Rangers to obviously get this right. I think that would be first and foremost. Maybe some Rangers fans would be willing to give it an extra day or two if it meant getting the right man. But Russell Martin left with all of his backroom staff pretty much. There's no real obvious candidates to lead the team into the game against Dundee United. Stephen Smith, the youth team coach, has been taking training for the players not away on international duty this week. And let's take into account the full PR side of this for Rangers. Russell Martin was unpopular to begin with. It then didn't go well. The fans' favourite choice for this appointment was Steven Gerrard. That's now not going to happen. So it does feel like they're under increasing pressure, firstly, to get it right, but maybe to have someone in place by Dundee United here on Saturday.
Yeah, you mentioned the fans being so disappointed with the fact that Gerrard pulled out. Do we know why he did?
It's been put down to a timing issue on Steven Gerrard's side. Of course, he flew in from the Middle East. The Rangers delegation flew down to London. They had talks on Thursday. They were described as constructive. They were believed to be heading in certainly a positive direction. So they spoke again on Friday. But then the news emerging last night that he will not be in the running, and it is being put down, that's our belief, to a timing issue on Steven Gerrard's behalf, whether he felt there were just certain circumstances on his side of things that he couldn't quite iron out at the moment, then fair enough. I think it is worth noting, and I appreciate there's an element of speculation, but it's important to reflect how the Rangers fans are feeling this morning. I think many of them are waking up wondering that if it is just a timing issue, why did both parties let it get to the stage where they flew to London? There was a second round of talks. I think they're perhaps wondering if there are other issues here. Maybe Steven Gerrard felt that having to work in Rangers' current structure, which is different to the structure he left when he was the manager, he would now be returning as a head coach. Maybe that's a question down the line for Steven Gerrard or for Rangers. But one thing's for sure, it won't be him, and attention now turns to who is next.
So what I got from that, guys, in summary, essentially, as I said, that's the latest update, 17 minutes ago from Sky Sports, is essentially that they still remain in talks with various candidates, and they look to appoint the new head coach. I mean, that's interesting with regard to the terminology there, new head coach. Now, again, Steven Gerrard is more of a manager. I'm putting it down to these Muppets. Was it Thelwell and what's his name? Kevin Thelwell and Patrick Stewart. We can't be operating a football club with these two Muppets in charge. They are fucking mental. They are absolutely mental. We can't be having them operating the football club, and that could put off anybody. Seriously. They are in a bad place due to recruitment, the appointment of Russell Martin, acting too late on sacking that lunatic as well. And now obviously dropping and collapsing the deal with regard to Steven Gerrard. But it does look like Danny Rohl is one option who has impressed, as they're stated. But Graham Potter, Gary O'Neill are not on the Rangers' final shortlist. Thank fuck. Because Graham Potter stunk the place out recently as well. And Gary O'Neill, nah. But these candidates are just not giving me confidence whatsoever. Why is Kevin Muscat's name not in there? So yeah, there's various candidates, but you know, Hasenhuttl apparently is another manager as well that we could be going in for. Who was the other one he said? Hasenhuttl.
It's more about the shock of last, and now looking at what
in the frame there, names in the hat, I should say, quite a few names in the frame. So how soon then do names in the hat?
And now looking at what comes next, digesting that, I think Rangers look to obviously again have all been linked. Another couple of names worth noting, the likes of Gary O'Neill, who was linked with the job previously, again in the slay, and make sure they get the right man in the end. The likes of Michael Carrick, Kieran McKenna, Ralph Hasenhuttl of all.
So Carrick, Kieran McKenna and Hasenhuttl and Danny Rohl. So they're all sort of championship-based managers. So Carrick, Hasenhuttl, Kieran McKenna and Danny Rohl. Okay, I mean, Michael Carrick, fuck off, man. I'm not being horrible, but they are operating us like a championship football club. Come on, Michael Carrick. McKenna? What's he up to these days? Kieran McKenna, I know he was at Ipswich for a while. Is he gone now? No, he's still managing Ipswich now as we speak. So, one thing that I would say about Kieran McKenna is this, look, he got 2 promotions for Ipswich Town. I mean, that is pretty impressive. And if you're looking at somebody that was sort of linked with Brighton, I think he turned down a big job recently, and that's a bit of a better win percentage in terms of 46% with regard to Ipswich Town. Let me see where Ipswich are sitting in the table right now. Ipswich Town. I mean, he got them fucking relegated. ninth. So yeah, there or thereabouts in terms of where they are. I mean, I think he would actually be a good manager, to be fair, Kieran McKenna. He's someone that's actually got a big success in terms of, done well. League One, Championship, but these runner-up tags is exactly what we don't want to be having at our football club. But Danny Rohl looks like the guy that's the sort of lead candidate, if you like. So yeah, let's see what people's reaction is now that we've woken up to Danny Rohl potentially being the new manager. I had Danny Rohl in my sweepstakes before Martin, and that hasn't changed. Worked with Germany and Bayern Munich. Look at Sheffield Wednesday before he was there and after he left. He performed miracles with nothing. Wouldn't be so quick to dismiss him. Now, I'm more on the standpoint here, troops, with regard to Danny Rohl. Look, and this might piss people off, but I'm not on the standpoint of thinking, with regard to sticking him in a Russell Martin thing. I think that's super lazy. To suggest that he's like Russell Martin, I know we spoke about it in the last live stream. I don't even think they have the same sort of philosophy. They have an attacking philosophy, yes. But Danny Rohl is known for changing his formation, changing his tactics depending on the team he comes up against. He's pragmatic. He's not like Russell Martin where he just keeps his own philosophy and that's it, shit bust regardless of who you play against, which we've seen against Club Brugge. Danny Rohl isn't like Russell Martin. But you can see the people's reaction and the fans' reaction. They don't want Danny Rohl in. Well, this is also very interesting to see from people that know about him more than we do, and that's with regard to sort of Sheffield Wednesday fans. I understand there's cautiousness due to Martin, but Rangers fans, trust me, Danny Rohl is the real fucking deal. And again, if you're looking at the comments here from other fans as well, brilliant manager, kept us up when it looked odd on us for us to go down, looked like he was there for the long term till he got his head turned. Last 5 months of the season was terrible. Gassimer will be a nightmare for defenders in Scotland under Danny Rohl. That could be a cool fact as well, by the way. But I'm interested to see with regard to their fans who actually know him more, because I think a lot of us, we all like football, of course, and I'm not dismissing anybody, and I'm not going to sit here and say I know a lot about Danny Rohl, because I don't. But I do think it is super lazy to make a comparison to Russell Martin. I don't think you compare the two. And if it is Danny Rohl, I don't have the same feeling of Danny Rohl coming into the club as I did with Russell Martin. Russell Martin, we knew he was a wank from day one. We knew what he was all about from Southampton. A lot of us watched the Premier League. We knew the interviews that he didn't change his philosophy and he was a bad, and we just knew it wasn't going to work from the start. But with Danny Rohl, we can't give, if he's the guy that's appointed, we can't give him the same fucking reception as Russell Martin. You just can't. Otherwise, we're just never going to move anywhere. I'm seeing no signs and ban signs for him already, which I think would be seriously unfair. And I've said it time and time again with these, yes, he could be a project manager, as people are saying. Yes, we want to win, we want titles. But we've had winners before. We had a guy that won the Eredivisie with Feyenoord. He didn't win us the league. We had a guy that won 3 titles in the Belgian Pro League with 2 different teams. He didn't win us the league. So these proven managers don't necessarily work. The only success we've had since Walter, really, was under Stevie. And what was his experience? Nothing. He had no experience. He was even more of a risk because he didn't even have a managerial job prior to that. All I hear is we needed someone who knows the club and shite like this. Why not go get Ali McCoist then? He instilled belief in players and fans alike under a truly horrendous owner. Instantly improved performances, morale, etc. He has style of play but isn't naive enough to stick with it if it isn't working. He wasn't a professional, so he had 15 to 20 years to perfect his craft. His coaching record for the biggest club in Germany and their national team is highly impressive. The fact he has been programmed within the football development organisation roles that are emerging in the UK, but long established in Germany, provides real confidence that all his energies and concentrations will be wholly focused on first team fitness training, tactical analysis, etc. These men don't look for excuses about budgets, wages, etc. They ascribe a culture to be domineering vanguard club who wins everything they want. Rangers have a compatible reversance with Bayern Munich. Rohl was instrumental in their emergence in Europe and at home. I'm forever an optimist. I don't waste time worrying about managers differing on whether to manage our beautiful club. No matter who they are or what they have achieved, if Danny Rohl accepts the role, he'll have my full support. So that's a good point, guys. You know, I mean, look, let's have a little look more about Danny Rohl quickly. Let's have a little look more about him. So look, he's young. He's 36 years old, right? He didn't really have a playing career, in all honesty. And people look at this, Sheffield Wednesday, and people look at this, the win percent. But context is always key. Context is always key. But he also started beginning coaching at RB Leipzig. Now, there's quite a lot of people that have come from RB Leipzig in terms of, you know, the next big things, from whether it be sort of Salzburg, Leipzig, New York Red Bulls, etc., etc. They do have a certain philosophy there. He was also working at Bayern Munich, which is also very interesting. If you want to compare a club to us, it's Bayern Munich in terms of Germany, you know. Most successful sort of team, you know, kind of in a league, won all the sort of titles like Bayern Munich have sort of done within their division. That's what you could sort of compare us with in terms of, you know, dominating, and that's where we're going about. So he has a philosophy to win under Bayern Munich, similar circumstances, and of course an assistant manager under the Germany national team. So if you look under the hood a little bit more, like, I remember people were like, in the summer, when before it was Russell Martin, everyone was going, we want David Ancelotti. That was it, shit bust. David Ancelotti had never managed anyone before. So I do think you got to look at it from this perspective as well, that he has been coaching for the last 15, 20 years in Leipzig and working with Bayern Munich, Southampton and the Germany national team. And his first job was under difficult circumstances. For reference, with regard to Danny, and this that everybody's looking at, Danny came in the championship when they were sort of in the relegation zone. Within a year and a half later, they'd finished 12th in the championship the year after, and then left at mutual consent due to their sort of financial reasons. So everything's context-based. And if you look at what he did here, I would say he did a good job. But the problem is that who else do we get? Who else do we get, guys? Genuinely, I'm seeing people putting names down, but who else do we get in our team? Rangers will have to show ambition if they want to sign Danny Rohl. See, this is from their fans. You know, I know Sheffield Wednesday, comparing Sheffield Wednesday and Glasgow Rangers is something that you should never do. But sometimes I look at what people are saying with regard to a fan base, and they saying good things when you're watching week in and week out. I'm not saying a bad word said what? Based on what? Taking a champ team for 24th to 12th. And he left in pretty... But I can see it. I can see it. I can see it. And then people were now pointing this out. Russell Martin beat Danny Rohl 4-0. I mean, you can't make comparisons like that, for God's sake. I don't care what hipster I offend by this. I don't want Danny Rohl because I've never heard of the guy. If I haven't heard of him, he hasn't achieved anything. If he hasn't achieved anything, he has no place at Rangers. Thanks for listening to my TED Talk. F Danny Rohl, point Barry Ferguson. See, this is the same thing, right? I get it, fair enough, when people are saying, like, right, they don't want Danny Rohl and they don't want these certain managers. And again, I'm still learning about Danny Rohl, so I don't know. But guys, come on. We all love Barry Ferguson, but why does everyone think appointing Barry Ferguson is the way to go? Like, I see it from Rangers fans saying, appoint Barry Ferguson. He had to go last season. We were shite. We hadn't won a home game in Yonks. And that's not me speaking down against Barry, guys. I love Barry. I'm 28 years old. It was a player I, grew up watching. But, to compare, I think it's hard to sort of compare. But people saying, fuck Danny Rohl, but appoint Barry Ferguson, then I just don't see it. But then again, I don't think that we should be too trigger happy in making an appointment right now. Is this Danny Rohl? If it's even half looking like Danny Rohl, the better. The fan base protest to block the appointment. You slept Bills, you slept Martins. Do not allow these bastards to appoint Danny Rohl, or we'll be back here again in 4 months. So you've already got people here, like this dude here, Danny Rohl, putting him as his display picture and like, shit. Rangers told Danny Rohl is a no. Russell Martin clone insider says he's the best coach I've worked with. Now that we know Steven Gerrard won't be the next Rangers manager, 3 names are being consistently linked. Danny Rohl, Derek McInnes, Kevin Muscat. Who would be your choice? This guy seems to not be getting anything. It's pretty quiet with regard to Muscat. Like, I think this would be an obvious choice. Muscat. I genuinely do. I think Muscat would be a good appointment by us. But he's not even kind of in the running whatsoever. I've not even heard anything about Kevin Muscat. He's always there or thereabouts, name being linked. His season ends in literally, I think, at the end of next month in the Chinese Super League. Currently top of the table, going to be winning a second title on the bounce. Was obviously successful in Japan, was successful out in Australia as well. Kind of mirrors the whole Ange Postecoglou thing, but he's really cut his teeth into it out in Asia, I suppose. But I'm surprised there's a lack of sort of PR with regard to Kevin Muscat. Because before the Gerrard rumours had sort of emerged, I would have been all over Kevin Muscat in all honesty. I would have thought Kevin Muscat would have been a decent option for us. But yeah, just really, really quiet on Kevin Muscat at the moment, which I'm really surprised by. You obviously got Dell as well. I wouldn't be against Dell, but he's kind of came out and said that he's not coming through Hearts, but I don't think he was even on the shortlist. I mean, he's got a 500k release clause. It wouldn't be a problem. I wouldn't be snobby against Del McInnes. I think he's a guy that's done well in Scotland, and he's done well with Hearts. I would take him, but again, really, really quiet right now with regard to him. So I don't know how there. But as you can see, it looks like it's these 3, Darren Contential and Ralph Hasenhuttl. Fuck that. I mean, they are quite inspiring. What's Ralph Hasenhuttl up to these days? Fucking hell, man. He's out of a job. Ugh, that's rank rotten, isn't it? Ugh. Ralph Hasenhuttl. Fuck that, man. Win percentage at all of his jobs. That's a club that's sort of competing for stuff. Were they even there then? I don't know. He's won leagues. Bundesliga 2. He got promotion from the 3rd division in Germany as well. Ralph Hasenhuttl. Fuck that, man. Nah. I'm not into that one. Nah. I don't want Hasenhuttl. But they worked together back in the day. Could be worse. We could be appointing fucking Jack Wilshere. Rangers fans turning their noses up at Danny Rohl. Bloke might be a knob, but he's a very good manager. Would get them ticking. See, that's from their fan base. Danny Rohl, going by all feedback in Germany, Bayern and Chef Wednesday, will be a great young manager and is fuck all like Russell Martin. But coming into a toxic environment with huge pressure isn't the right move for him or Rangers at this stage. Danny, Scottish Sun. I mean, I don't take it from the Daily Rags what's happening, but Danny Rohl emerges as clear favourite to be the next Rangers manager, with ex-Ibrox star also in the frame after Gerrard withdrawal. What are these Muppets saying?
Obviously, it's Sheffield. I think there's one name that's already surfaced, and that's Danny Rohl. Previously, it's Sheffield Wednesday. That has got the blue sky thinking of the summer all over it. It's got Kevin Thelwell's fingerprints all over it. Could you imagine how that plays out if it was an appointment like that? How the Rangers fans react to that?
That's what I mean about reading the room. I mean that just can't happen. I mean, just with all due respect to Danny Rohl, but an appointment like that can't. I don't even think there's other names being mentioned. I don't even think like Marco Rose or Mark Van Bommel, these guys have been mentioned. I don't even think that's going to wash with punters. Honestly, I think there's, of all the names being mentioned, we talk about the boxes that need to be ticked. I think you're looking at McInnes, Gerrard, Deitch, Muscat.
No, it's a bit outdated, isn't it? What I would say about Hansi Flick, by the way, he's a fucking good manager. And I know that always doesn't contribute to being a good manager here, but he's a good manager, man. Treble at Bayern, fantastic work at Barcelona, really, really good manager. I'm a big fan of Hansi Flick, actually. A really, really good manager. No! So yeah, that's it really, guys, in terms of the latest sort of information. All I can really say right now is that for sure it's not going to be Gerrard, but it does look like Danny Rohl will likely be the next manager of Rangers at this moment in time. But talks are currently ongoing. But if you're looking at from sort of experience of seeing how we operate as a football club, when we spoke about this time yesterday, when we started hearing Danny Rohl's name, I felt something was off with Gerrard. Turned out to be, it was the case, but I have a weird feeling that it will be Danny Rohl. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Jackson Bow says, if it's Danny Rohl, then he's a massive boost to come to our club with how the fan base are already saying he's a failure. Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. If it's Danny, then we just can't be like this, guys. We just can't. You can't be like that off the bat. You just can't. I mean, you can't. All I'm trying to say is look, Danny Rohl, my first choice? Probably not, no. But we can't be going through managers and fucking giving them hell as soon as they come in. You know, you've got to give them a clean slate at least. We're wasting our time talking back and forth when it's staring in the face. Derek McInnes, no brainer. I would sit on you with that. I would join you with that, mate. I would sit there with you on that one. I genuinely do think that Derek McInnes would do a great job at us. I really do. For Scottish football, I think it would be fantastic for us. I really do. But I just don't see that happening, unfortunately. It's just where Rangers are these days. Piss poor all around. The Rangers are deluded. Now, the one thing I would say about Celtic fans, though, as well, and to be fair, from a Rangers perspective, we're sort of privy to doing it as well. No matter who we're appointing, they're going to be shit. You know, you always have to consult with your local Celtic fan to make sure that the manager checks out for the respective club, because they're in the know on everything. So whoever we're going to be bringing up or bringing in will likely be shit in their eyes. So we'll see what happens. Look, I'm scunned by it. Let's be honest with you. Assistant at Bayern Munich is better than manager at Hearts for a CV. Mitchell says, Russell Martin beat Rowe 4-0. Why would we want a manager that got beat 4-0 off our past manager? Well, simply, it's context, my man. Simply context. You can't just judge a one-off game of a whole manager. Southampton were dead-end favourites to get promoted out of the Championship. And that year, Danny Rohl just came in. And they were in the relegation zone. So everything's context-based. Now, that's like saying Barry Ferguson's a better manager than Jose Mourinho because he beat him against Fenerbahce last year, which would just be ludicrous and insane to even say. And there's also other things, you know, you could keep comparing all day long. Is Thomas Frank a better manager than Pep Guardiola just because he beat Manchester City at the start of the season? You know, there's loads of people have been throbbed off people. Didn't Jurgen Klopp? Liverpool got beat by Leicester like 7-0 in the COVID season. Do you know what I mean? You can't make that comparison. Oh, he got beat by this manager, that means he's shitter. Steve Robinson from St Mirren would be a great fit. He's done wonders with pennies to manage them. I keep hearing his name, to be fair. But bearing in mind, some of the fans, by the way, literally earlier on today, we were literally all saying that. Wait, actually, guys, hit the like button if you haven't already, and do subscribe as well. Yeah, I'm hearing a lot about Steve Robinson as well. People sort of wanting him in, but people talking about sort of Danny, talking about all these sort of inexperienced managers as such. Well, people wanted David Ancelotti, you know, in the summer. He had never had a job before, just because his surname was Ancelotti. So, if you're looking at assistants and working with people, then if you're looking at who Danny Rohl's worked with, Hansi Flick and co, then that's kind of the same. But he's got more experience than David Ancelotti because he actually managed for Sheffield Wednesday. But guys, I've been rambling along for quite a long time. Just to conclude, obviously, Danny Rohl looks like he's going to be the favourite. There's other names, Kieran McKenna. Of course, Rouse Hasenhuttl, the guy that was managing at Southampton, and most recently Wolfsburg. And Michael Carrick's names are in the hat as well. Names that are no longer on the final shortlist include Gary O'Neill and Graham Potter. But the bookies' favourites and the most likely candidate at this moment in time is going to be Danny Rohl. Guys, do let me know your thoughts on the managerial hunt. Do let me know your thoughts on Danny Rohl potentially taking over as the head coach or the manager. And who would you want? If the choice was yours, put a name down, a realistic one. Of course, people want to say Pep Guardiola. It's never going to happen. Put a realistic name on who you would want in the comment section below. And yeah, I'm interested to see where you're going to go with it. But thank you so much for tuning in. And we'll keep you up to date as the day goes on with regard to this managerial hunt. But first, hit the like, hit the subscribe button.